In this episode of the Business Growth Accelerator, we're going to talk about how to streamline business processes and prevent bottlenecks in order to make your business overall more efficient. Brilliant. You help multiple companies in different stages implement solutions, which means you see a lot of problems. What are the key problems that you see companies are struggling with when it comes to, and now I use your terminology, finding better ways for people to work together in order to achieve a business goal?
Yeah, I'm going to call on Peter Drucker, right? He's sort of the role model, inspiration for all of the business that we do. And Drucker's basic guidance to all of us across the years and across the decades has been, when we're doing business, we should be thinking about the customer, right? And I think the biggest problem that we have is that even today, we don't understand what our customers want and what they need. And we develop all these processes that are more about ourselves and less about our customer. And in doing that, what we do is we create a gulf, a chasm between our customers, and then we organize ourselves in ways that make our jobs easier, but not in ways that deliver value to our customers. So case in point, most organizations that we work with, large organizations, have organization silos, right? They have silos somewhere between, on average, 9 to 12 silos to get something delivered to customers. That's a very common problem. So think about this, a customer asks for something, and then we take that request and we pass it from silo to silo to silo, 9 to 12 silos, and then we pass it back from silo to silo to silo. Our organizations are set up in this very striated way that is orthogonal to the delivery of customer value. If you look at the history, we're all sort of subject to the legacy of our organizations. And the legacy of our organization, whether we like it or not, has two major influences. One, on the management side, is what we call command and control management. It's a top-down hierarchy type chain of command. And that's essentially how we like to run our organizations, whether we like them or not. Right? Top-down, decision has to be made top-down. And if there's anything that it has to go up the chain, come down the chain. So that causes a decision velocity delay. In today's world, the big problem is that organizations can't move fast enough. One of the reasons why they can't move fast enough is because we have a hierarchy and it takes us time to make a decision, right? We have to go all the way up the chain and come down the chain. The other reason is that we have something that is called Conway's rule, and I get a little academic over here, or Conway's law, and it comes from Mitch Conway, that basically says, whatever your process is, that's going to be mirrored in your organization. And that's basically what is consciously or unconsciously the situation around us. So if 5 years ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago, depending on how old our company was, if we had a process that was that sequential batch, taking large batches of things and moving them from silo to silo, our organizations are wired that way. And we have invested so much in making those organizations efficient that it's very difficult to say, well, now we need to transition those organizations and make them less top-down, more collaborative for faster decision-making, like a Google or Facebook or some of those product companies from Silicon Valley that didn't actually have the problem about being wired up in this way. And then the thing that we have to do is to figure out how to take our organizations and move them and make them less siloed and less striated so that we can actually do it. Can our organization change direction in response to changing conditions? And they have this whole kind of VUCA kind of conditions and all that. Can we do it quickly, right? Change on a dime. And can we do it without breaking the organization and spending an exorbitant amount of money, right? And that's what any executive or leader or managers, that's what our goal should be, to take our organization and make it a good place for people to work so that we don't lose the best and brightest, so that Ishar doesn't have to leave the big company and and leave his colleagues sort of forlorn and lonesome to deal with the world, right? So what can we do to move in that direction and figure out how to inject what we call this business agility? So there are three things I want to talk about, right? The first thing is to make sure that we can align with the business outcomes. process is not there for its own sake. All processes, all practices should be subjected or subjugated to a business outcome. That's what we're about, right? So if you say, this is business agility, this is what we want to achieve. We want more customers, we want growth, we want customer satisfaction, we want better, happier employees. Those are business outcomes. So aligning what we are doing with our business outcomes is what we're looking for. Well, we don't need to be aware of the problem because the problem's everywhere.
Okay.
All companies struggle with this, right? It's just a widely pervasive issue that organizations, large and small, have trouble aligning with business outcomes. And like you say, our executives, our leadership teams are generally fairly good at saying, these are business outcomes, this is our strategic plan, this is what we want to achieve for the rest of 2022, and here's my first quarter goals and second and third and fourth quarter. And then the gap over there, the chasm comes because those things don't translate down. One of the techniques that we advocate, and this is also fairly wide, the solution is actually fairly widespread as well, is using something known as objectives and key results, or OKRs, where we can say, well, we have an objective to grow, but what are some very specific key results? We want to grow sales by 30%. We want to grow customers by X%, right? So those are the key results, and the combination of objectives and very quantifiable key results is what can help us move the needle towards business outcomes, right? So aligning with business outcomes sounds good. How do you do it? Use OKRs, make sure we have the right strategy. And then here's the key thing. Those things don't stay put. So one of the things we have to make sure is that every quarter or so, and sometimes maybe even faster than that, review those OKRs or those outcomes and say, do these still make sense? Things might have changed. Who knows? For example, everybody's talking about getting back to work now. At the end of February, Microsoft said everyone's going to get back to work at the end of February. So I don't know what their moving the needle is and what kind of OKRs they're looking at. My guess is in Q2, they'll review what they did in Q1, and then they might need to change it. There's the Dilbert type manager, and it's like, I'm leaving my company because I hate my manager. And I'm sure, I don't know, maybe 50% of the managers out there have horns on the head and are really not good people. but I do think if we believe in humanity and if we believe in people and we believe that people are fundamentally good, most of those middle managers are trying very hard to do a good job.
I don't think there's a single person that wakes up in the morning and said, I want to suck at my job today so bad. Like, I don't think that person exists.
So if middle managers are having struggles and unable to support their teams, that's a function more of the system they're in and less of the people who they are. Right? And this is the whole lean premise. It's like, if we need to change things, we need to change the system. Right? And the key to bridging that gap or crossing that chasm between executive leaders and saying, here's my OKR, and making sure that that filters down to the teams, is to bring in middle managers and establish what we call an agile value management office, which is a team of teams of people. And their first job is to make all the work visible and to help the teams prioritize it against the business outcomes. First, I said, align with business outcomes. Second thing is, make sure that all the work in the portfolio is visible and is aligned with those business outcomes. Now, the executives can't do this. They're off to their mountaintop and they have to their stuff to that. And teams can't do this because they are more focused on delivery. So somebody has to bring those things together end to end, make sure that all the work in the portfolio is visible by whether we use a tool. And now we're talking about a group of middle managers who are helping our business partners prioritize all the work in the portfolio against those OKRs. By making sure that we have a representative of each team, we're starting to get to that end-to-end view. Remember, we said that we have all these silos. Well, the way to coordinate dependencies, coordinate impacts, coordinate visibility across those silos is to make sure that we're talking to people from each one of the silos. There's also another need, because of the decision-making, to make sure that we have people from up the chain in that value management office as well. So it's not just people across at the middle management level or the team level. We also want to make sure that executives are part of this group so that they can help us validate, invalidate, guide us direct us in terms of the business outcomes, and remove things from the portfolio. Typically everybody's got their pet project, everybody's got their pet initiative, and no matter what people want at the team level or the middle management level, ultimately it's got to be some executive who has to come in and say, this is not working, it's not delivering the business outcome, can it?
Love it. And also saves time, right? Because now you have the decision-making sitting within the process versus now you got to report to them and they need to review it and then they need to report back and only then you can do the thing. So it's almost an empowerment mechanism, right? Because it enables the team level to make decisions that in other worlds will have to go through like strategy review or some kind of another review.
Here's a statistic for you.
Okay.
Over 90% of change management efforts that are led by middle management in this way succeed.
Wow.
Which is not what we generally think about, right? We think, oh, middle management, there's impeding work. But when we empower middle management, when we empower the teams and we get executives to come and work in collaboration and alignment, over 90% of these efforts succeed.